Assalamu alaikum. I want to first start by thanking everyone who made the trek out this evening. I realize that this is a Friday evening and that you could be any number of places doing any number of things, but you have so graciously chosen to honor me and grace me with your presence, and I'm eternally grateful for that. This is my first trip to Birmingham. I'm fighting my American tendency to enunciate every syllable and say Birmingham, but I've heard many people saying Birmingham, so I'm just staying with that. And everybody that I have encountered has been very hospitable, very warm, and I feel as though this is a place that has really opened to me in terms of brotherhood and sisterhood, and I am very thankful for that fraternity and sorority. The topic that I was given today was humor in Islam, and the subtitle was Joker of the Pack. And it made me think of the time when I first encountered Islam. I embraced Islam about 18 years ago, which if you're counting means I converted when I was 2. Not actually. But I was a number of factors. It was a confluence of a number of factors: hip-hop music, Spike Lee's Malcolm X. I remember, for a long time, I thought Denzel Washington was Malcolm X. That's how effectively he played that role, so that when I saw the movie Flight, I was thinking, Malcolm X can fly a plane? I thought he was Malcolm X. So you had Spike Lee's Malcolm X, you had hip-hop music, you had some of the street gang culture, which elements of Islam were infused into that culture that I was partisan to when I was a youth. But it all came together on one Saturday afternoon. I was in high school, I believe you all say college, and I was in Saturday detention. I'm not going to tell you how I got there, but I was there, and I was reading in a world civilizations book. And it wasn't required reading for my course, it was just something to do. You had to be quiet for 4 hours on a Saturday. My proctor was a man named Mr. DeVries, and he was a very strange fellow. He just walked around the room and, looking over people's shoulders, seeing what they're doing. And I was just completely idle, had nothing to do. And he gave me a world civilizations book, and he said, why don't you just spend some time looking at this? So I opened it, and by chance, well, alhamdulillah, I opened it to the Ottoman Empire. So I'm reading about the Uthmaniyun, about the Ottomans, and then they had a small inset about Ottoman religious life. And that inset was entitled or emblazoned across the top of that inset was, there is no God but God, and Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam is his messenger. And the first part of that statement, there is no God but God, was so counterintuitive to me. I was thinking, how can you negate God and then affirm God in the same sentence? That it intrigued me. And I started researching, and I started reading. And when I found that Muslims believe in one indivisible, absolutely unique, incomparable God, I said to myself, this is what I have been looking for. And my disaffection with Trinitarian Christianity was growing. It was growing. And I said, this is what I have been looking for. So when I went to my friend who was Nigerian, and I only knew he was Muslim because I read something about the month of Ramadan and that Muslims abstain from food and drink during the daylight hours. And although he was a portly fellow, there was a portion of each school year that he wouldn't eat at lunch. And I used to give him a hard time about it. I was that kid that if you came in school and anything was off about your outfit, your hair, I was getting you. I was coming straight up to you roasting. So when I first came to Siraj and I said, yo, Siraj, when you go for that 2 or 3 weeks or whatever not eating, is it because you're fasting for the month of Ramadan? Of course, I didn't say Ramadan with a dad, but I said like Ramadan or something, whatever, right? I anglicized it. And he looked at me like, because he thought I was maybe going to make a joke about it. And he said, yeah, why? I said, no, actually, man, I'm really interested in learning about Islam. Do you think you could teach me? And he said, I don't know anything about Islam. It's just what my dad tells me to do. But I can introduce you to my father. So here I am, 15 years old. I go to his house. His father spoke to me for like 15 minutes. And immediately I like leapt out of my chair. Yes, that's what I want to do. I want to embrace Islam. And I embraced Islam. Right? That was 15 years old. I embraced Islam. And when I embraced Islam, he gave me 2 things. He gave me a miswak and he gave me a topi. And I thought these were like the sacred symbols of Islam. You know. I would talk to my friends and I would say, you know, I'm Muslim. They would say, no, you're not. I would pull out the miswak. Then how did I get this? If I wasn't Muslim, how did I obtain this? How do I have this little crocheted cap? You see, they don't give these to everybody. This is harder to get than an American Express black card, my friend. This is difficult. And from there, I started increasing my knowledge of Islam. I started to deepen my knowledge of Islam. And the only thing I was really concerned about was Tawheed, was La ilaha illallah. Even at that time, and I say so now with some regret, even Muhammadur Rasulullah was not so important to me then, because I had come from a culture where we had deified Jesus Christ, alayhi salam. So I just wanted God. Just teach me about God. But everywhere I went, I kept running into the Sunnah of the Prophet, alayhi salam. And finally, someone told me, look, it is the Muhammadur Rasulullah, alayhi salam, that makes you Muslim. Whether people tell you this or not, Muslims are not the only people that believe in a radical, uncompromising monotheism. Unitarian Christians are monotheists. A lot of Jews, most Jews in fact, are monotheists. You have different spiritualists that are monotheists, but it is the Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that makes you Muslim, and you should concern yourself with seeking the Muhammadan alayhi wasallam personality. You're part of your pursuit of an Islamic practice involves seeking the Muhammadan personality, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I started looking around, and it seemed that most of the people that said that they were following the Sunnah, they were all very surly and depressed seeming people. People that didn't laugh, didn't smile. This is the Sunnah. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that, man. Sometimes I have very nice teeth. Sometimes I like to show them. Sometimes. Everybody angry and, you know, this feeling of this. And I said to myself, I need to research, man. I need to look at the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. I need to look at the shama'il, the personal affects and characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ, so that I will get a sense for myself of how this man was, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so I started reading. And the definitive, and this is in the shama'il of Imam al-Tirmidhi, the definitive descriptions of the Prophet ﷺ all described him as al-Dhahak, the one that was laughing often. And then some descriptions mentioned him as being al-Bassam, the one that smiled often and regularly. And then you had descriptions of the Prophet ﷺ that he was sarim, which in Arabic means stern. You have descriptions that he was contemplative, or do you say contemplative? I don't care, I'm American, I'm saying what I say. He was contemplative, he was focused, he was not a person given to mirth. In America, I would have said that with a British accent in jest. Mirth. He wasn't a person given to mirth. And so I asked one of my teachers, how do you reconcile between these two sets of descriptions? Is he laughing? Is he smiling? Or is he serious? Is he focused? Is he in deep contemplation? And my teacher said both. Whenever he was in public, whenever he was in the company of other people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was smiling, he was laughing, he was agreeable, he was approachable, because it was important to him that he made sure that they were at ease. But whenever he was alone, he was a man of deep reflection. He was a man of deep contemplation. He was a man of deep focus. And then my teacher appended that by saying, we as Muslims, we have inverted that sunnah. In public, we're people that we don't smile. Astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. How can you smile with what's going on in Palestine? But when we're in private, we're watching House of Cards and watching all of the football matches and listening to the stand-up comedians that we enjoy. And we should be the exact opposite. When you're in public, you should be laughing, you should be smiling. You should make sure that other people are comfortable. And when you are in private, you should be given to reflection. Cut the television off. Get off the internet. Spend some time reflecting. This is how he was, alayhi salatu wasalam. And we only need to look, if we want to know the value of humor in Islam, we only need to look at this Muhammadan personality, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So many anecdotes, so many stories, so many hadith rush to mind. The one that perhaps tickles me most, because the Prophet ﷺ, in his smiling, made light of a potentially very serious occurrence. A man came to him and said, Ya Rasulullah, inni halaktu. O Messenger of God, truly I am destroyed. And the Prophet ﷺ, with characteristic coolness, just asked him what happened. See, many of us, if our friends came to us, yo, dude, I'm in big trouble. We don't even need to know what happened. We're already going, astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. That's haram. It's like, it's interesting when someone comes to you and they're confiding in you, that they're struggling with something. I've been going to the club, I've been smoking, I've been drinking, there's this girl I'm seeing, there's this guy I'm seeing. Do you think they need you to tell you it's haram? They need you to tell them it's haram? That's the first thing we say. Hey man, that's haram. I know it's haram. That's why I'm talking to you about it. Because I need some consolation. That's the first thing we say. That's haram, huh? Anyway, the man said, I'm destroyed. And the Prophet ﷺ responded with characteristic coolness. What happened? My wife and I, we were together during the day in Ramadan. This was during Ramadan. And the Prophet ﷺ said, yeah, that is a big thing. Well, in order to expiate your sin, you have to find somebody in a state of servitude and set them free. And the man said, dude, I don't have money like that. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, well, if you don't have money to do that, you have to fast 2 consecutive months. شهرين متتابعين. 2 consecutive months. And the man said, fast 2 consecutive months? If I could make it through 1 day of fasting, what would give you the impression I could make it through 2 months? My wife and I, man, we really like each other, man. It's probably not going to happen. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not say, astaghfirullah, where's your iman, you fasting? He said, you make a good point. You make a good point. Well, in that case, you have to find 60 indigent persons and feed them. And the man said, wait a minute. You expect me to find somebody more impoverished than me? I'm the poorest person that I know. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he started laughing. He laughed. And the hadith actually reads, ظَهْرَتْ أَنْيَابُ, which means his molar teeth became exposed. ظهرت أنيابه. His molar teeth be. Now this is somebody that committed a serious infraction in Islam. He was with his wife during the day in Ramadan. He's coming to the Prophet ﷺ, seeking atonement for his sin, and the Prophet is making levity of this with his laughter. Then in his beautiful way, ﷺ, he called for a sa'a of dates, a canister of dates. He gave them to the man, and he said, take these to your family. Feed your family with these dates, and your sin is forgiven. He was an extremely light person. He liked to laugh. He liked to have a good time. Where these ethics have gone in our community, I don't know. Some people need to be informed that the Prophet ﷺ said, one of the easiest ways to gain the favor of Allah Ta'ala is idkhal as-surur ala qalb al-mu'min, bringing joy to the heart of another believer. This is one of the easiest ways to gain the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to bring joy to the heart of another believer. To make somebody laugh, to make somebody smile, just to tell somebody things will be okay. It's like the hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on the day of Eid, standing in the courtyard of his masjid with Aisha radiallahu anha inside her cloak, inside of his cloak, inside of his rida, and he's shielding her. And they are watching the newly converted Ethiopians of Banu Arfidah. And these Ethiopians are performing, or these Ahbash, they're performing a choreographed military exercise. I know many people read the hadith and it says they were dancing. I mean, why black people always got to be dancing? I had to go and actually do the tahqiq myself. And I said, well, because when I read the hadith, they would dance, and I'm thinking, they ain't that, you know what I'm talking about. You know, I said, man, I have to go read this myself. They weren't dancing. They were doing a choreographed military exercise. So think about people like drilling. I don't know if you guys have that tradition in your military, maybe not, but we do. It's called drilling. It's very popular in America. And while they were drilling, they were saying, Muhammadun nafsun tayyibah. Muhammad is a pure soul. They're doing their stuff. And two things happen right there. One, Sayyidina Umar, radiallahu anhu, he was very uncomfortable with this display. Some scholars say he was uncomfortable because this was the masjid of the Prophet alayhi salatu, and it wasn't appropriate for this kind of performance. Some people say, masjid or no masjid, it was a kind of movement, a kind of rhythmic movement with which he was unaccustomed, with which he was unfamiliar. So Sayyidina Umar started to pelt them with stones, throwing rocks at them. Knock it off. Get out of here with that. The Prophet ﷺ, in one recension, in one riwayah, he called out to Umar, Ya Umar, leave them, leave them. And then he said to Banu Arfidah, carry on, show us what you got. I want people to know that there is levity in this great religion. If you don't believe me, check the sources. Carry on with your moves. I want people to know there is levity in this great religion. There is room to enjoy yourself. There is room to express yourself. Now I look at this and I say, if the Prophet ﷺ would have dealt with this differently, it would have set a very bad precedent of xenophobia in Islam. When you see something that is unfamiliar, when you see something with which you're unaccustomed, censure it. No, the Prophet ﷺ saw something with which he was unaccustomed and he embraced it and encouraged it. Then in this same hadith, they continue. Man, I'm saying nothing bad, did I? I thought you'd come and tackle me, man. Am I good? I don't know how they roll in Birmingham, man. I'm from Chicago. I almost pulled a thing on you, man. I'm from Chicago. You rush the stage like that again. I'm from Chicago. I'm gonna pull out. Am I good? Okay, put that back up. I'm good. No, but in this same hadith, if you really want to know about the character of the Prophet ﷺ, after they resume the performance, Aisha is watching the performance. And the Prophet ﷺ, after some time, he says to her, okay, Aisha, I've had enough. I've seen enough. I'm ready to go now. And she turned and said, shh, be quiet, man. I'm trying to watch this. This is good. Shh, be quiet. This is good. I'm watching this. And what shocks me about the Prophet ﷺ and his character is that he did not respond with an insecure response. He didn't respond with insecurity. He didn't respond, wait a minute, girl, don't talk to me like that. I'm the Prophet ﷺ. Have you lost your mind? Don't talk to me like that. Don't talk to me like that. Are you out of your mind, girl? Look, I got angels that back me up, man. Stop kidding, man. He simply said, oh, okay. Okay. He asked her 2 more times. And on the 3rd time, she's ready to go. And as they leave and return home, this is when they have the foot race. So not only am I not upset, not only am I not angered by what you did, I still want to have a good time with you. And this is how he was, alayhi salatu wasalam, an extremely easygoing, polite person. Somehow that ethic has been lost and replaced with an ethic of severity, an ethic of an unflinching seriousness. And the Prophet ﷺ was not that way. Like when the woman came to him in Umar, and this woman said pointedly, what about women? The men have access to you. The men are studying with you. The men travel with you. The men hear about what they're going to get in heaven. What about women? And the Prophet ﷺ in one riwayah, he stepped back and he asked Umar. He said, Umar, what do you think about this? And Umar responded, radiallahu anhu, Wallahi, I did not know that women could do that. And this was not an expression of misogyny. This was a person that was accustomed to a culture where women's roles were defined to the domestic sphere. So I'm just saying, a woman addressing a leader in public that boldly, that intrepidly, that eloquently, I've never seen anything like this before. And the Prophet ﷺ explained calmly, yes, this is very common. This is not really that unusual. And then he granted that woman's request. Yes, we will convene a session weekly, all of the sahabiyat, ridwan alayhinna ajma'een. You guys can ask me your questions. You can, seek from me whatever you want, and we'll do this weekly. So one of those gatherings, people are sitting together and they're reading, and Sayyidina Umar descends on the gathering. And all of the women start fleeing. Pew, 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 pew. Running in each direction. And he calls out to them, Ya a'da'i anfusikunna. Oh, you enemies unto yourselves. You're afraid of me? But you're not afraid of the Prophet ﷺ, and he's really the one that possesses majesty. He has the jalal, and you're running from me because I'm brawny? But no, don't get me wrong, Sayyidina Umar was an intimidating guy, man. Some people estimate his height, 6'8", 6'9". Extremely muscular. And don't be afraid of me, kana asla. He was bald. When you're bald, people are afraid of you, man. I'm telling you. And his mustache was long enough, kana yufattilu. His mustache was long enough that he could twist his mustache, like this handsome brother here. His mustache was long enough. You can look at Ijluni's Tamyiz al-Sahaba. Umar you could twist his mustache like this. So they start running from him. And they respond, and this for me is the definitive part of the story. Umar, you're right, the Prophet is majestic, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is majestic, but he's approachable, he's kind, he's easygoing, and he's loving. You, on the other hand, we find you quite frightening. But you see how those sisters describe the Prophet alayhi salatu. He's gentle, he's agreeable, he's approachable. Does not mean that he's not majestic, but this is how he carries his majesty in an easygoing way. You, on the other hand, we find you quite frightening. And Sayyidina Umar looked like, and the Prophet said, Umar, it's true, man. It's true. You are like that. Kind of like, I got homeboys like that. If they want my homeboys, I might be scared of them, man. I come up to them, look, I'm glad you're on my team, boy. Because if I saw you in the dark alley, baby boy, I would run the other way. If I saw you in the dark alley, I would run the other way. But then the Prophet ﷺ said, but Umar, don't worry about it. There are some ways in which we're inherently different, but you don't go one way except that the shaitan goes the other way. So in the same way you have this domineering presence, and there are some bad parts about it, like you scare Muslim women. However, there are some good parts about it. You also scare the devil. And this is how the Prophet was, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when we're talking about humor in Islam, we are talking about a central part of the Muhammadan character, that we should all be seeking to be easygoing, light people who are not gravely stern when the time calls for us to be easygoing and approachable, and who are not given to silliness when the time calls for us to be serious, but people who know how to balance those. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Keep the faith.